What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are back to work on the 2021 Ducati V4S. Finally getting that fork off the front half of the frame. Right here is where it's split off from the rest of the engine. We are removing the good pieces off of the front to slap on our new frame. One thing I noticed, the steering stop has broken off the lower triple tree, so we'll have to get another one of these. But these forks look to be straight, which is a huge plus because these are the V4S forks and they have electronic suspension. Now the outside is all scuffed up, but I think I have a solution for that. We've got a full carbon front stay bracket, which is holding our perfect condition dash in place, along with the tip over sensor and the horn on the backside and the headlight plug. It doesn't look like much, but there's really a lot of good pieces on this Ducati. The ignition module, which we have a key for, and this GP Edition top triple tree, which is in good condition. Öhlins electronic steering stabilizer. Now, interestingly enough, they removed the rear brakes on this bike and they filled the ABS module with extra bolts. And I think they had to program the ECU to get rid of the rear brakes because I don't know how this would work with the electronics. Modules have survived, like our Öhlins electronic suspension module. It's still here. Now you might be wondering what this thing is. This contraption right here allows you to compress the forks when you're drag racing. These straps are attached to both of the front calipers, and then you have this excess which you pull and it compresses the forks. So the front end of the bike is already compressed. I guess helps in drag racing. Anyway, we are gonna get the other fork off now and the rest of what we can salvage. We finished disassembling the front. We got our forks, our carbon wheel from BST, which is just completely cracked off from all the spokes. What's left of our hub and the front axle, which is actually bent. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it has a little bit of a hump to it. Our ignition, which is good. Lower triple, which is cracked off. You can see the other side is starting to crack as well. Calipers, the Brock's tie-down strap kit. Our good dash on this fully carbon stay bracket. Aftermarket Domino electric throttle. Some good pieces there, along with the ABS module, which I think we're gonna have to convert back to having all 4 lines run to it. But I'm not sure if I need to retune the ECU if they've already tuned it to delete the rear ABS. We have this monstrosity of a fuse box, and it has has main connectors on the backside. I've never seen something like this before. What's left of our airbox and our frame, along with these one-way security bolts for the ignition. They have threads on both sides. You have to use a vice grip to take them out. Steering stabilizer and an aftermarket GP edition top triple, which is in good condition, just a little bit dirty. All right, now we're gonna try and get the rest of this exhaust off.
Well, we are just about to take off the swing arm now.
We got the broken frame mounts off on this right side, which really didn't take much of a hit. But in order to remove this rear-facing head, we have to remove this geometry piece for the suspension, which bolts directly to the head. But we can't get to that bolt down there until this swing arm is out of the way. There is not a lot of room back there. Upon first glance, you'd be like, how do you take this thing apart? Well, check out, if you point the camera down, you can see it is a hex. And I'm pretty sure it's either a 9 or a 10. If we slide this 10 down there, perfect fit. So it's a long 10 millimeter, and this piece should screw right out.
We gotta do this on both sides of the swing arm, and then we can remove the heads on the engine.
And finally, swing arm is removed from the back of the engine. Now the bolts for this swing arm are actually very different. Side by side, you can see the differences. Now briefly, this side it actually acts as a bearing. This bolt rides on those bearings inside of the left side of the swing arm. And then it threads into the frame, while the right side bolt just simply tightens down this little lip on the right side of the swing arm into that groove, and this bolt just cinches those two together. The suspension setup on this is very interesting as well. They take two L brackets connected to the head and the middle of the engine, and then the middle of the engine and the lower half of the block. Then your shock mounts up here at this bolt, down here at this bolt, and then it connects to the swing arm down here with a very interesting bolt. Now this is the bolt in that suspension link, but you might think this is a regular bolt, but this is in fact titanium. It's hard to show on camera, but this bolt is not steel, it is titanium. It is super light, and these are not cheap.
You know you're going for some serious weight reduction when you start buying titanium hardware, nut and bolt. This is probably about 70 bucks.
These titanium parts are what really adds up quick on a fast bike build like this. You got that M2 shock out as well, and on the writing here it says Motion SBK C2.01R2 12.2150. I have no idea what any of that means. This is an e-box shock as well. All right, let's take this front side head off.
All right, this is pretty cool.
These are Desmo valves. These are not your standard valves that you see in most sport bikes.
And that makes these Ducati V4s rev to insane numbers compared to most sport bikes.
Which puts the red line of these engines to 16,500 RPMs. And if you look at the Kawasaki, the red line is at 14.
And we could get super technical on why that is with valve float, but let's talk about these Desmos.
So to do a Desmo service on these V4s, you're like, where the heck are the shims? Well, you lift up one of these things, and underneath is where the shim sits. So I took the one out from here, but look under this one, there's the shim. I took this shim out, it's in my hand right now, and on the side of the shim, you can see it says 2.15. Let's go ahead and put that back in here, nice and in place, there we go. So to do the Desmo service, you have to have the cams installed along with the cam caps. Then you put a shim in between where the lobe would sit right here, and you have to measure the spec, and if it's in spec, then you're good to go. But if it's not, you gotta take both of these cams out, lift up this little arm, and remove that shim, and put a different shim in there that matches the spec needed.
I personally think this stuff is so cool.
Now here are our 6 head bolts, 5, 6, and then we have 2 little 8s on the outside that we gotta remove, and then the head should be able to come off. And unfortunately, I am removing this because it does have damage right on the outside here, has damage on this corner. There's also damage on the intakes right here.
Now I could try and TIG that up and then grind it down, but I just don't have those skills.
This is our chain tensioner, which goes in the hole right here and provides tension to the chain. And once the tension is gone, you can remove both of those cams. I could not get these spark plugs out because I need a deep socket 10mm to get these out, and I just don't have it right now.
But anyway, let's try and remove this head completely. Well, for some reason, our tensioner in here is stuck and will not go back any farther. So the chain was super tight on those cam gears. So I had to pop these three 8mm out of the cam gears and then slide the camshaft out and then remove the chain off of these gears and pop these out as well. I thought I was gonna need to remove this flywheel and then remove this bolt back here for the tensioner because for some reason it is stuck. I don't know if there's debris down there blocking it from going in any farther. Also, this is pretty cool. The starter right here comes in the engine and then that attaches to this gear and then this gear spins, which is connected to this gear, which is on the crankshaft, and that's what starts up the motor.
Anyway, let's remove the rear head. Well, this is pretty cool. This is the firing pattern on this Ducati V4S engine. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see this piston is at TDC, top dead center, and then this piston is next, about halfway or 3/4 of the way up, and then this piston is about halfway up, and then the last piston is all the way at the bottom of the stroke, which definitely gives this Ducati V4 an interesting sound. I think it'd be really cool to see if Ducati would adjust their firing pattern so it would be like 1 and 4 fire at the same time and 2 and 3 fire at the same time, just to see how that would sound. Now, I imagine there are a ton of different mathematic measurements that they have to do in order to completely change the firing pattern, but I'm just curious to see if it would sound any different. Our pistons are working great. The engine is not locked up, so that is a huge plus. Barely any carbon buildup on these pistons. This outer coating is coming off so easy. So this Ducati engine looks super fresh. Even the internals on these camshaft lobes, literally no markings at all. And in these grooves, they look brand spanking new. No scoring at all. There was probably very low mileage on this Ducati motor because my MV Agusta motor had about 1,500 miles on it, and there was way more carbon buildup on those pistons. Now for the fun part. All that sand got in the motor from when that head cracked. So I need to remove the flywheel and all these gears and clean out every last bit of sand that's back in there, because that will permanently damage this motor if I leave it in there. I'm pretty sure I need a special flywheel puller tool for this flywheel. Since this is connected on the crankshaft and there's just one nut on the outside and I think it's pressed on, so I gotta pull it straight off. So while we wait for that special flywheel tool, we're gonna move over to this extended single-sided swing arm that costs $6,000 and it's now pretty much junk. Along with this full carbon VST wheel, which is not cheap, and that is junk as well. Let's disassemble this and save what we can. Well, we got the hub out of the stretched swing arm and it's right here. Had a bunch of fresh grease on it, so this thing, I bet, has not seen a lot of miles. Now, the strangest part here is this swing arm is so heavy. It's crazy how heavy this thing is. Compared to this OEM one, which is like nothing compared to that other one. It's gotta weigh like 30 to 40 pounds, and it must be forged or something because it is heavy. And it's completely bare. We also removed the BST rear wheel, which is just absolutely destroyed. It is pretty cool to see though. This is an expensive wheel too. It's unfortunate, but we're gonna save the tire because it is a Diablo Supercorsa SC. These are some expensive tires. We've got the main hub that slips through the eccentric bearing, and this is what the wheel mounts to. And this is the assembly that spins in the rear hub on these Ducatis. And it's all held in with some snap rings, and it's got washers and seals for the brake plate and speed sensor. Now they had these custom brackets for this speed sensor, which is kind of interesting. I don't think this is OEM because I don't see how this would mount correctly. They had to make these custom brackets to even mount this thing on that stretched swing arm. I'm gonna have to make sure I get the right speed sensor for this Ducati rear swing arm. We used this super clean to clean up this stuff and it worked so well. But now let's put together this swing arm. Well, we've got our hub installed on the OEM swing arm, but it is binding up a little bit. I don't know why. But it was spinning fine on the extended swing arm, so we might have to just take it off again and clean it. Now, obviously, we won't be using this sprocket because it is way bent out of the way. We have a replacement on the way. We will also need a rear caliper and that rear speed sensor plate, which bolts to the back of this spindle. Amazing news, we have both heads and we have a frame on the way. That's gonna be super exciting to put this all together. Previously, you guys saw we opened a bunch of Ducati parts, including this wet clutch with the Duca bike clutch plates and the clear clutch case. We've got an OEM rotor to install. We also have a subframe in this package right here, as well as the OEM shock. A ton of much needed parts for this Ducati. But that is gonna be all on this Ducati for now. We will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.